The girl in the mud. The rain hit hard against the old metal roof. Lucas sat near the fire in his wooden cabin, listening to the storm outside. Thunder cracked the sky. He lived alone on this abandoned alien planet, far from Earth. No neighbors. No cities. Just silence. And sometimes strange sounds in the night. Tonight he heard something new. A scream. It wasn't human. Lucas stood up, alert. He grabbed his coat, flashlight, and old plasma rifle. Outside, the storm turned the ground into thick mud. Trees swayed in the wind. The scream came again, high, sharp, and full of pain. He moved quickly, through the forest, past broken alien, ruins. His boots sank deep into the wet ground. The sound guided him like a rope pulling him forward. And then, he saw her. She was lying face down in the mud. Her skin was pale blue, covered in dirt and blood. Long silver hair was tangled across her back. She had no clothes, no bag, no tools, nothing. Just a broken body shivering in the cold. Lucas froze. Was she alive? He moved closer, crouched beside her and touched her shoulder gently. She flinched. Her eyes opened, bright, glowing white. She looked at him, afraid. Her lips moved, but no words came out. "It's okay," Lucas said softly. "I'm not going to hurt you." She didn't understand. But maybe. She felt his tone. She tried to crawl away. Her arms were shaking. She didn't get far before collapsing again. Lucas looked around. No one else was near. Whatever happened, to her, she was alone. He took off his coat and wrapped it around her. She let out a weak cry. Her body was ice cold. He picked her up, slow and careful. She was light, almost too light, like she hadn't eaten in days. As he carried her back, her eyes stayed half open, watching him. She didn't speak. She didn't fight. She just breathed. Back in the cabin, Lucas placed her on a clean mattress, near the fire. He turned on the heater, brought water, and searched for a blanket. He avoided touching her more than needed. He was careful, respectful. She watched everything with wide, confused eyes. He gave her water. She drank, but slowly, like it hurt. He found an old alien cloth, soft and long, and gently wrapped it around her like a robe. She let him, but her hands stayed close to her chest, always guarding herself. When she finally slept, Lucas sat nearby, still wondering who she was. Where did she come from? Why was she alone? Hours passed. The storm faded. Morning light broke through the cracks in the cabin wall. Lucas made breakfast, something warm. He didn't know if she could eat human food, but he had to try. When she woke up, her body tensed. She looked around quickly, ready to run. "It's okay," Lucas said again. He kept his voice soft. "You're safe here." She looked at him. Her eyes were still afraid, but now, curious too. He held out a bowl of soup. She didn't take it. Instead, she pointed to his chest. "Who, man?" she said slowly. Lucas blinked. "Yeah, human." She repeated it. "Human." Then she touched her own chest. "Lyra." "Illyra?" he asked. She nodded. A name. Finally. Lucas smiled a little. "Nice to meet you, Illyra." She didn't smile back. But she wasn't afraid anymore. That night, she sat near the fire in silence. Lucas gave her space. He worked on fixing his old scanner, trying to figure out if any ships had landed nearby. None had. So how did she get here? Illyra slowly touched the glowing lines on her arm. They were hidden under the dirt, but now Lucas saw them. Small blue circuits that pulsed faintly. Her body wasn't just alien. It was part machine, a hybrid, a test subject. Lucas had more questions than answers. But one thing was clear. She had no clothes, no tools, no memory, and no one coming to help her. He looked at her again. She was staring into the fire, Not crying, not speaking, just breathing. And for the first time in a long time, Lucas wasn't alone. She doesn't trust him. She woke up with a jolt. Alira's eyes scanned the room, wild and sharp like a trapped animal. Her breathing was fast. Her hands gripped the edges of the blanket wrapped around her body. She didn't know where she was. She didn't remember the cabin, the fire, the man. She only remembered pain, running, cold mud, and now, a human. He was sitting at a table nearby, working on a small device, unaware that she had woken up. She saw a weapon leaning against the wall. A strange box humming with quiet energy, the scent of firewood and food in the air. She sat up slowly. The blanket slipped a little. She quickly grabbed it back, holding it tight around herself. He looked up and froze. "You're awake," he said gently. He raised his hands. "I'm not going to hurt you." She didn't answer. Her eyes locked onto his. Her fingers moved, slightly as if ready to claw. One wrong move, and she would fight. He slowly stood up, hands still raised. "It's okay. You were hurt. I found you in the mud." She understood some of the words, not all. But she could feel his energy, soft. Careful, patient still. She didn't trust him. Not yet. She pointed to herself. "Alira," he nodded. "Yeah, I remember. Elira." Then she pointed at him. "What? You?" He smiled a little. "Lucas. Lou. Cass." She repeated it slowly. He stepped back, keeping distance. "I'll give you space. Food's here if you want." He motioned toward the wooden bowl on the table and sat down again, far from her. Elira stood after a long moment. Her legs were weak, but she balanced herself. She wrapped the blanket tighter. Her skin still burned in places. Her head ached, but her eyes, those glowing, bright eyes, stayed sharp. She walked slowly toward the food, always watching him, like a hunter testing the air. She sniffed the soup first, then touched it with her finger. Warm. Her stomach growled. Hunger pushed, her fear aside. She sat and began to eat. Lucas didn't say anything. He let her be. He returned to his scanner, acting like everything was normal. But he kept stealing small glances at her, this strange, beautiful creature who had appeared from the forest like a ghost. Who was she? What had been done to her? Later that day, Lucas tried to talk to her again. She had moved to sit near the fire. Her eyes followed every sound outside the window. "Do you remember anything?" he asked. She looked at him, confused. He tapped his temple. "Your memory. Your past." She didn't answer. Then she raised her hand and drew invisible lines in the air. Her fingers trembled. Glowing marks flickered under her skin, circuit patterns, like alien tech fused into flesh. She closed her eyes and whispered a word in a language he didn't know. Her voice cracked. Lucas understood one thing clearly. Whatever had happened to her, it broke her. She had been through something horrible. That night, Elira couldn't sleep. She sat with her back to the wall, blanket around her, eyes always open. Lucas was asleep across the room, wrapped in his jacket. His rifle was next to him, but not in his hands. She stared at him for a long time. He could have hurt her. He didn't. He could have taken advantage. He didn't. Still, something in her heart refused to trust, not because of him, but because of everything that came before. She remembered shadows, chains, cold metal walls, needles in her skin, voices she didn't understand, commanding her like an object, and then nothing. Escape. Pain. Then mud. And him. In the morning, Lucas found her outside. She was sitting on the cabin steps watching the forest. Her hair was still messy, skin still marked, but there was a strange calm in her face now. He walked over with a fresh canteen of water. "You're not running away," he said. She didn't look at him. "I run. Long time," she whispered. He handed her the canteen. She drank. Then she said quietly, "Why help me?" Lucas sat beside her, leaving space between them. He looked out at the jungle. "Because I would want someone to help me too if I was lost, afraid, and alone." She blinked. "But I am alien." He chuckled. "Aren't we all on some planet?" For the first time, her lips curved, not a full smile, but something. Close he saw it, and in that moment Lucas knew. The wall she had built around her heart had cracked just a little. Her scars told the truth. The sun rose weakly over the alien jungle. Golden light filtered through the twisted trees, but it could not chase away the cold silence that clung to Lucas's cabin. Inside, Elira sat by the window, her knees pulled to her chest beneath the blanket. Her eyes followed the birds, strange creatures with crystal wings that shimmered in the light. She didn't blink much, always alert, always watching. Lucas had stepped outside to check the solar panels, giving her space. But something inside, Elira stirred that morning. Not fear, not pain, curiosity. She looked down at her arms. Her skin was still bruised and dirty, but glowing beneath the surface were thin, branching blue lines, like vines of light crawling through her body. They pulsed slowly, quiet, but alive. She touched them. They didn't hurt. Not anymore. But when she closed her eyes, she saw things. Metal tables, masks, bright lights above her, hands pulling wires from her back, a voice shouting something she couldn't understand, a needle, then darkness. She opened her eyes quickly, breathing hard. Lucas returned, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Power's back," he said. "No signal, though, still no ships in orbit. You're lucky I found you." Elira turned to him. Not lucky." Lucas paused. That was the longest sentence she had said yet. He sat down across from her. "Why do you say that?" She didn't answer. She looked down at her arms again. He noticed the blue glowing lines more clearly now. They weren't just strange, they were patterned, designed, not natural. "Elira, what are those?" She looked at him with unsure eyes. Then, slowly, she pulled the blanket off her shoulders. Lucas's breath caught in his throat. There were scars, dozens across her back, her arms, her sides. Not random injuries, not from battle. These were clean, symmetrical, surgical, like someone had built her, modified her. "Who did this to you?" he asked softly. She shook her head. "Don't know. But they say, weapon." "A weapon?" She nodded. "Born to break, not to feel." Lucas clenched his fists. He had heard rumors of alien empires that used biotech to create living soldiers. Some half-machine, half-organic hybrids used in wars across the galaxy. But he'd never met one. Never imagined they'd look human, hurt, vulnerable. "Elira," he said carefully, "you're not a weapon now. You're safe here." She looked away. Safe, for now. That night, the power flickered. Lucas was working on the scanner again, trying to boost the signal. Maybe someone out there had answers. Maybe someone was searching for her. Elira sat near the fire, holding a small mirror he had given her. She studied her face. Not with vanity, but like she was trying to remember it. Her fingers traced the edge of her jaw, her cheekbones, the silver strands of her hair. "I don't know who I was," she whispered. Lucas looked up. "I think they erase me. No past, no name, only pain, only run." He nodded slowly. "They took everything." She touched the mirror to her chest. "But still here." Lucas didn't speak. He just stared at her. This girl who should have been dead in the forest, now sitting in front of him, learning how to be human again. Later, Elira walked outside alone for the first time. The wind moved through the trees gently. Her bare feet touched soft grass. The air smelled clean. Not like the rooms she remembered. Not like metal or chemicals. She knelt near a small puddle and looked at her reflection. Mud still clung to her skin, but under it, life. She wasn't sure who she was. A prisoner? A machine? A person? But when Lucas stepped behind her and said, "You're free now," she didn't flinch. That meant something. Back inside, she pointed to his scanner. "Find my prison?" Lucas hesitated. "Maybe." She looked him in the eyes. "I want to know. I want to remember." Lucas understood. She wasn't running anymore, she was preparing. The hunters arrive. The wind changed that day. It came from the north, dry and sharp, carrying a metallic taste. Elira felt it before Lucas even noticed, like a signal buried in the air. Her body tensed, her eyes narrowed. Danger was coming. Lucas was fixing the antenna on the roof when he heard her voice from below. "Elira?" He called out, not seeing her, then, "Lucas," she said quietly from the tree line. Not alone." He climbed down instantly. "What do you mean?" She pointed to the sky. There, slicing across the clouds, so small it looked like a bird, was a black triangular craft. Silent. No engine sound. No lights, just moving, fast and low, scanning. Lucas cursed under his breath. "No one's supposed to be here. That airspace is restricted." Elira took a step back, clutching her arms. "They look for me. I feel them. In my blood." Lucas didn't argue. He saw the fear return in her eyes. Not confusion. Not panic. Recognition. That night, he set up traps near the cabin perimeter. Old mechanical ones and a few electric snares he'd built from scrap. Elira helped. She was quiet but sharp. Every step she took was precise. Her body remembered things her mind didn't. How to move without sound. How to twist wires. How to hide tracks. Lucas watched her crouched beside a trap, lit only by the soft moonlight on her silver hair. "You've done this before," he said. She didn't answer, but the way her hands moved, fast and perfect, it told him everything. They didn't sleep. At 3:12 a.m., the alarm on the perimeter tripped. A sharp, digital click echoed in the dark. Then another and another. Lucas grabbed his rifle. Elira was already standing, her bare feet silent on the floorboards, eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. She whispered, "They are here." The first figure appeared between the trees, tall, armored in obsidian black, a helmet that shimmered. With code, it moved like liquid metal scanning. Lucas aimed, but Elira grabbed his arm. "No shoot. More nearby. Hidden. They test first." "Test?" he whispered. She nodded. "They send scout, then hunter, then death." They crawled under the cabin through the hidden hatch Lucas used for emergency storage. He pulled the door shut behind them. Above them, soft metallic footsteps creaked across the floorboards. The cabin door opened. Heavy boots, strange mechanical breathing. Through a crack in the boards, Lucas saw one of the invaders. Its armor was fused with living tissue. Not just a suit, a symbiote. It had a weapon on its arm that looked like a bone grafted with steel. Elira closed her eyes. She whispered, "They are from the Black Order. Slave makers, body breakers. They built me to be one of them." Lucas felt his chest tighten. "They want you back?" "No," she said. "They want to erase me." Hours passed in silence. Then a sudden electric screech shook the air, the sound of the traps being destroyed one by one. "They search now," Elira said. Slow, careful, like hunters in dark forest. Lucas looked at her. "Can you fight them?" She didn't answer immediately. "I don't know who I am," she said, her voice shaking. "But I remember what I was made to do. I can kill. I can destroy. That is what they wanted from me." She looked into his eyes. "But I don't want to be that." "You're not." Lucas said firmly. "You're not a weapon anymore. You're a person. You chose to escape. And now, you choose again." She clenched her fists. "Then I choose to survive." They waited until dawn. By then, the soldiers had burned the cabin to the ground, thinking they'd smoked her out. They never checked beneath. When the fire died, Lucas and Elira emerged from the underground hatch behind the hill. The forest had changed. It smelled like ash. But they were still alive. Lucas turned to her. "We need to move. They'll be back, with more." Elira nodded, her voice calm and cold now. "Then we don't hide." He looked at her, confused. "We fight," she said. "Next time, I won't run." Her powers awaken. The forest was no longer quiet. Birds no longer sang. Insects no longer hummed. Even the wind had gone still, like the planet itself was holding its breath. Lucas and Elira stood near the mouth of a hidden cave, deep inside the jungle, far from the ashes of the burned cabin. They had spent the last 2 days here, watching, waiting, preparing. Elira sat on a stone slab, her legs crossed, eyes closed. Her body was still, but her skin pulsed faintly with soft blue light beneath the surface, like lightning waiting to strike. Lucas watched from a distance. He was beginning to understand. She wasn't just some runaway experiment, she was something more, something designed for war, and reborn in pain. Earlier that morning, they found a drone, half buried in the moss near the river. Not one of his, not a civilian model. This was military grade, insect-shaped, built for one thing, tracking biological signatures. Lucas smashed it with a rock. It still twitched. "They're close," he said. Elira nodded. Her voice was calm, almost eerie. "Then I wake up." At sunset, the hunters came. 3 black-armored soldiers dropped into the jungle clearing from a hovering stealth ship, silent as ghosts. Their armor shimmered with cloaking tech. Their footsteps left no prints, but Elira saw them. She felt them. "They are linked," she said to Lucas. "One mind, shared vision. Kill one. Others see." Lucas adjusted his rifle. "So we take them all down together?" Elira stood. "No," she said. "I take them. You stay." He frowned. "I'm not letting you go alone." "You can't fight like them," she said softly. "But I was made to." Then her eyes glowed bright, brighter than before. Her breath slowed and the light under her skin began to spread. Down her arms, across her neck, into her fingertips. Glowing lines formed patterns, symbols Lucas didn't understand. Alien letters. Ancient power. For a moment, she looked like a goddess from a different galaxy, and then she vanished into the trees. The first soldier didn't even see it coming. Elira moved like wind, silent, fast. She struck with her open palm against his chest, and blue energy blasted from her hand. The armor cracked. His body flew backward, crashing into a tree so hard the bark exploded. The other 2 turned immediately, weapons glowing with plasma. One fired. Elira bent backward in midair, the beam sizzling past her face. She twisted, landed low, and slammed her foot into the ground. A shockwave of energy erupted from the soil. Blue light shot through the roots like veins, slamming both soldiers off balance. She raised her hand again, and for a second, Lucas saw it clearly through the trees. Her eyes weren't just glowing, they were burning. Back in the cave, Lucas heard the battle as distant rumbles, booms, crashes, the sound of branches snapping, trees falling. He couldn't believe it. The girl he had found shivering in the mud was now turning soldiers into dust, but something still pulled at his chest, a fear. Not of her, but of what this would cost her. Was she waking up to her power, or falling back into what she had escaped? 10 minutes later, the jungle fell silent again. Lucas stepped out of the cave. Elira was walking toward him, barefoot, slow. Her body covered in dirt and blood, but none of it hers. Her skin was dim again. The glow had faded, but her eyes still burned with something else now. Not fear, not confusion, conviction. She stopped a few steps from him. Lucas looked at her. "Are you okay?" She nodded. "They are dead." He didn't cheer. He didn't smile. He saw the way her hands trembled, not from weakness but from restraint. She could have destroyed more. She held back. He stepped closer. "You didn't lose yourself?" She looked up at him, her voice barely above a whisper. "No," she said. "Because I remembered you." Lucas felt something in his chest tighten. She continued, "Before you, I was a tool. I only knew pain. But now, when I fight, I think of your voice, your cabin, the fire, soup." He chuckled softly. "Soup?" She smiled for real this time. "Yes. Tasted like burnt wood." He laughed. "Fair enough." Then she looked toward the sky where the stealth ship had vanished. "They will come again, stronger, smarter." Lucas stepped beside her. "Then we get ready." She turned to him. "No," she said. "We go to them. The choice to fight." The jungle couldn't hide them forever. Elira knew this. Lucas knew it too. Every sunset brought a new shadow in the sky, a new echo in the distance. The Black Order wouldn't stop. Not until she was dead, or recaptured. Lucas sat by the fire, silent, staring at his rifle. It wasn't enough, not against what was coming. "They're building up," he said. "They're tracking your energy trails. Last fight gave them data." Elira stood by the cave mouth, wrapped in silence. The trees swayed gently behind her like watchers waiting for a decision. "We can't run anymore," she said. Lucas looked up. "You sure?" She nodded. "Running gave me life, but fighting might give me freedom." That night they didn't sleep, they planned. Lucas drew maps in the dirt, satellite wrecks, energy signatures, potential landing zones. Elira memorized them quickly. Her memory was a weapon, trained to store tactical patterns. She pointed to a crater 5 kilometers east. "Here," she said. "This is where their forward base hides. I feel them, like thorns under skin." "You sure?" She tapped her temple. "Their implants connect to mine. Weak signal, but I feel it. They gather there. That's their heart." Lucas took a deep breath. "You want to attack them?" She didn't hesitate. "Yes." He looked at her with something between fear and, "You're not afraid?" "I am," she admitted. "But I won't be a hunted creature anymore. I won't live in fear of chains." The next day they traveled light. Lucas carried a modified pulse rifle, recharged with energy cells salvaged from old drones. Elira carried no weapon. She was the weapon. They moved through the forest like ghosts. No trail. No sound. As they neared the crater, they heard the hum, low and mechanical like the sound of a sleeping beast breathing underground. Lucas knelt behind a fallen tree, peering through binoculars. A hidden platform. Camouflaged, buried beneath alien vines. 6 soldiers stood guard, Black Order armored and still. One of them removed his helmet, revealing skin stitched with machine lines. Not just a soldier. A handler. "They're not here to capture anymore." Lucas whispered, "That one's an executioner." Elira stared at them quietly. Lucas put a hand on her arm. "You don't have to do this. We can still leave this planet. I'll build a jammer. I'll find a ship. We disappear." She looked at him, long and hard. "No," she said. "If I run, someone else will take my place in their cages." Then she added, softer, "And I won't let them take you, Lucas." He nodded, heart pounding. "Then we do this together." They moved just after dusk. Lucas took the east side, placing traps, drawing attention. As soon as the first tripwire went off and alarms flared, all eyes turned toward the woods. And that's when Elira walked straight into the open. No armor, no gun, just glowing blue lines running across her skin, now brighter than ever. One soldier fired. She didn't flinch. The plasma bolt froze mid-air, then shattered like glass before it reached her. The soldiers stared. Elira raised her hand, and the ground shook. Energy erupted in rings from her feet. The base's generator burst into flames. The handlers screamed commands, but their voices were drowned in the sound of her awakening. She was no longer just fighting to survive. She was making a choice. To end them. Lucas emerged from the trees, gunning down a soldier who tried to flank her. The two of them moved as one. Her with bursts of energy, him with precise shots and cover fire. The handler tried to escape. Elira reached out. His body froze in place, suspended mid-air by her gravitational grip. He screamed as the metal inside him warped and cracked. "No more cages," she said softly. With a flick of her wrist, he fell to the ground, lifeless. The base burned, but something inside her still felt cold. She stood amidst the smoke, trembling, not from exhaustion but from the weight of what she had just done. Lucas walked up slowly. He didn't say anything at first. Then, "You chose to fight," he said. She looked at him. "I had to." He nodded. "But you didn't. Lose yourself," he added. She blinked. "How do you know?" He smiled a little. "Because the old you wouldn't have saved me first." She looked down at her glowing hands. Then, at him. "You changed me," she said. He stepped closer. "No, you changed." They stood there amid smoke, sparks, broken machines, and something new. Hope. He bond that changed everything. Smoke rose behind them like a dying memory. The jungle was silent again, but not because it was safe. It was the kind of silence that comes after something powerful has been released and cannot be put back. Elira stood barefoot in the blackened dirt, her skin still glowing with soft blue veins of light. Her hands were covered in dust and blood. Her heart, however, felt heavier than ever. She had won, but it didn't feel like victory. Lucas walked beside, her one hand pressed against a gash in his arm. He didn't complain, he never did. But Elira noticed the way he leaned against the tree for support, the way his breath caught when he moved too fast. "You're hurt," she said. "I've been worse," he replied with a crooked smile. She stepped forward and placed her hand gently over his wound. Lucas flinched, then warmth, not heat, not burning. A soft pulse of energy. Her body glowed brighter for a moment, and the bleeding stopped. The skin closed slowly, leaving only a faint mark. Lucas stared at her. "You can heal now, too?" "No," she whispered. "You healed me first." They made camp in a high clearing, far from the crater, above the misty canopy. Stars blinked, into view above them, cold, distant, beautiful. Lucas lit a fire. Elira sat beside him, quiet, wrapped in a thick cloth, not out of shame anymore, but choice. For the first time since he found her in the mud, she looked at peace. He offered her a piece of dried fruit. She took it, chewed slowly, then she spoke. "They will come again." Lucas nodded. "Maybe not the same ones, maybe worse. I know." He turned to her. "You still want to stay and fight?" She looked up at the stars. "No." Lucas frowned. "Then what?" "I want to live," she said simply. "Not as a weapon, not as a fugitive, just live." They sat in silence for a long time. Then Lucas reached into his satchel and pulled out something small. A necklace. It wasn't fancy. Just a string with a polished stone, shaped like a teardrop, glowing faintly with the same kind of light she carried inside. "I made this," he said. "From the core of the scanner you shorted out when you got mad at me on day 3. She smiled faintly. "It sparked a lot." "Yeah," he chuckled. "Almost fried my eyebrows." He handed her the necklace. She held it, then looked at him. "Why give this to me?" He shrugged. "So you remember this moment? When you weren't running, weren't fighting, just here, with me." Elira tied it around her neck, her fingers slow, careful. "I'll remember." In the morning they began walking. Not away, not toward battle, just forward. Lucas had mapped out a valley beyond the river, a place untouched by drones, war, or smoke. A place where the soil was rich and wild fruit grew on trees. He said they could build something there, a new home. One they would both shape. Elira didn't say much, but she walked beside him, step by step. Weeks passed. The valley became more than an idea. Lucas built walls from stone and wood. Elira cleared brush with her bare hands, lifting fallen trees like they were feathers. She never used her full power again, not for destruction, only for building and healing. Birds returned. Plants grew faster under her touch. Lucas swore the air even smelled better when she was near. One night she looked at the stars again and asked, "What is this feeling?" "What do you mean?" he asked. She placed her hand on her chest. "This warmth, this ache, when I look at you." Lucas was silent. Then he smiled softly. "It's called love." She tilted her head. "It hurts." "Yeah," he said, "but it's the good kind of hurt." She smiled. "Then I don't want it to stop." Months later, a ship entered orbit. Elira felt it before it even broke the clouds, but she didn't panic. She stood at the edge of the hill, Lucas beside her, both watching the streak of light cross the sky. "Think they're here for you?" Lucas asked. "Maybe." "What will you do?" Elira looked at him. "I'm not hiding," she said. "I'm not running." He waited. "I'll meet them," she added, "with you beside me." Lucas nodded. "Always." The ship never landed. Maybe it scanned the surface and saw the wreckage from the last fight. Maybe it sensed something more terrifying than a weapon. Maybe it sensed hope. Whatever the reason, it turned and left. And Elira? She stayed. From a nameless tool built to kill, to a woman who found a name, a bond, and a life worth protecting. Elira wasn't just free. She was loved. And nothing in the galaxy could take that away now.